everybody, and welcome to SheFan Pro's Grow Your Network. I'm your founder and CEO and your host for today, your co-host, along with our CMO, Saumya. I'm Shelle Fantastic, and I'm here to share a little bit today about SheFan Pro. So SheFan Pro is a UK registered trademark. In the UK, we have a global reach of over 22 different countries. We have the privilege and honour to have over 70 trusted partners globally. We share capabilities and resources with plugins, recruitment, we create social impact, and we have a strong arm in women's empowerment as well. We organise and create events which are showcased across our entire community of over 130,000 people. I'm delighted to have our guest speaker here today, Vincent. I know we've had a little bit of a catch-up prior to going live here today, and you know, it's just been a real pleasure to speak with you today and get to know a little bit more about you. So suffice to say, to our audience out there that will be watching back on this recording and our panel here today, I'd just like to say a great big thank you for taking your time out. You know, it's a learning journey. I do believe that we're better when we come together, and that is in fact what SheFan Pro is all about, and that's what we're here to facilitate. We're here to level up and to give fair and equal opportunities to human beings across the globe by sharing capabilities and making introductions. We are in fact built and sustained on trusted relationships. Without further ado, Saumya, I'm going to hand right over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shelle. Once Zig Ziglar, the famous author, salesman, and speaker, quoted that you can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. This is the motto behind our SheFan Pro's Grow Your Network concept and event. Now, SheFan Pro Grow Your Network, it facilitates both the speakers as well as the listeners and the audience to network with each other, share their views, and share the life experiences, and even so this is how we are willing to help people get to know each other and expand their network. So in this way, we become a facilitator, and we are happy to facilitate everybody. So this is the motto of SheFan Pro's Grow Your Network. So let's begin today's Grow Your Network episode with our wonderful guest speaker, Mr. Vincent Hoffmann. As Ms. Shelle Fantastic already mentioned, that she had a chat with him prior to this event, and he's such a wonderful human being. So Mr. Vincent Hoffmann, he's head of community relations for Lingo and COO of Kryptic. He's over here to discuss his life journey in blockchain space, and he would also love to share all his insights he's gathered over years. So let's welcome Mr. Vincent Hoffmann with a huge round of applause.
Thank you very much to SheFan Pro and the team. I greatly appreciate this opportunity. It's an honor and a privilege to be here today to share what I have to share with your audience. So, as you know, my name is Vincent Hoffmann, but please, whenever anyone speaks to me, just call me Vince. And yeah, so a little bit about me. I'm from South Africa, but I live on the tropical island of Mauritius. And I've been building my career in the blockchain space for the last 5 years. And while I represent a few projects which I'm very passionate about and I love to talk about, I really wanted to take this opportunity to share some of the greatest learnings and inspirations I've had over the last few years, because I believe they could help absolutely anyone and everyone that listens. The main objective of this talk is really to bring some light and exposure to some of these inspirations, because I really believe it will help you, whoever you are, on your journey. To kick this off, I wanted to make a note that, you know, as a youngster, I came across many famous quotes and sayings from famous people, from poets, presidents, and whatnot. And I understood them. I understood the moral of the story of each of those famous quotes, but they never meant anything to me. They were just words. But that all changed about 5 years ago. And before I get to that catalyst event and where everything started to change for me, I would like to start with a quote, actually. And the quote is, "If you want to change the world, start with yourself." And I've spent a lot of time thinking about the world and its problems, and spent a lot of time trying to determine what is the common denominator, the common theme that ties problems together. I think many people have done the same, and the conclusion I've come to is that greed is most often the cause of the problems that we face on our planet. I'm not talking about the kind of problem where you may be walking down the road, you trip on the side of the pavement and break your arm. I'm talking about the more sort of significant problems between people, organizations, and stakeholders. To kick that off, I actually want to share with everyone my earliest memory of where I broke my own heart due to greed. And this takes us back about 30 years ago, because I'm 39 years old. So when I was about 9 years old, in those days, my happy place was at the arcade. I would love to go to the arcade, you know, those machines, big screen, got a joystick, the buttons you could mash. It's bike racing games, Mortal Kombat, all of that stuff. I loved it. I still love video games today, to be honest. Anyway, so, and inside these arcades, there was a specific machine, a sort of gambling machine for children, if you will. And just to quickly tell you a little bit about this machine, because it's important. This machine, you would, the child or person would go up to the machine, they'd put their token on top of the machine, it would bounce down to the bottom, and at the bottom of this machine were these two sort of like tables, I'm out of focus, that were moving backwards and forwards. On these tables were piles of tokens, and the allure of this machine was that you would get your token to land at the bottom by this pile, and it would push those tokens into the funnel, and then you would win a whole bunch of tokens. And historically, I had, you know, when at the arcade, I would always put in 1 or 2 tokens, and to no avail, I never really won. But on one particular day, I remember I was at the arcade, and I had 10 Rand, because it was in South Africa, and I had my 10 tokens. And for a 9-year-old, for me, that was having a fistful of joy. That would be enough to let me play to my heart's content for at least 30, 40 minutes if I was being conservative. And on one particular day, I was at the arcade, I had my tokens, and I took a little glance at that machine, couldn't be missed, it was right in the middle, and I noticed that the piles of tokens inside the machine were huge. And I thought, bigger than I'd ever seen before, so I thought, well, I'm definitely going to give it a shot today. So I went up, threw my first coin in the machine, ding, 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 nothing happened. Well, let me try again, let me be a little bit more strategic this time, and I would like, I don't know how strategic you can be with something like this, but, you know, I threw my coin in, and lo and behold, all the tokens fell into that funnel. It was a loud, joyous racket of so many tokens, these metal tokens clang-clanging down the metal funnel, making a loud racket. And I remember being overcome with such joy and happiness. I hadn't felt anything like that leading up into that point in my life. And I remember the feeling was more than anything I could have imagined, which I believe is tantamount to what an adult would feel if they won the lottery. Given that the perspective and the lack of emotional intelligence of a child, I basically increased my holding of 10 tokens to more than 100. And yeah, I basically won the lottery. I was happier than I could be, and that would allow me to play for hours. And I felt like the absolute king. And the right thing to do would have been to, I had 2 hands full of tokens, and I was so happy. I could have played for hours. But my brain somehow told me that, I had this big dump of dopamine or whatever. I was so happy. And my brain thought to itself, that was amazing. That was easy. Let's do it again. So I went to the other side of the same machine, and lo and behold, 2 tables with another pile of tokens, not as big as the first time, but I didn't care. I had unlimited tokens to play with. And I remember I went to the machine and I just started throwing my coins in there. I was not paying much attention to my supply, and I got to a point where I got down to my last 2 tokens. And it was at that moment that I was absolutely overcome with a feeling of grief and particularly shame. I was absolutely devastated that I had just done that. And yeah, I was broken in that moment. And I remember my brain actually posing the question saying, you know, why don't you just walk away now and play maybe one more game with these last 2 tokens? And I very quickly answered that same question, like, there's no way I'm going to be able to enjoy myself doing anything right now. I've just lost my entire net worth. And basically, I just threw those last 2 coins in the machine, not because maybe I would win, but I just needed this moment to be concluded and to be over. I walked out of that arcade a very sad little boy. I don't think that heartache lasted much more than an hour, but that experience was, I went through a full sort of gambling experience because I felt that allure of easy money. I had the windfall of that jackpot, and I was high as a kite on life. And then I threw it all away because I wanted more. I definitely learned a lesson in that moment, but it was only decades later that my subconscious really showed me the depth of what I had learned and what I experienced. And, you know, the point of the story is, and I'm going to move on in a second, is that a lot of the times in life when we're experiencing a problem, a failure, it's because of our own greed. And greed can manifest beyond financial token sort of rewards. Actually, even in relationships, a lot of problems that we experience in relationships are because of greed, either in our partner or ourselves. So anyway, that was my earliest memory of greed and how that taught me a great lesson. And let me move on from that and get to the sort of crux of my story. It was only at the age of about 34 where something inside me started to really, really evolve. But before I get to where I was 34 years old, in 2015, there was an event, a sort of catalyst event. And in 2015, I was already living in Mauritius for 3 years. My daughter was 1 year old, and I was working for a company where I had been working for a few years already. It shut down because of politics between the company and the landlord, and everyone lost their job. And at that time, my daughter was 1 year old. It was already financially difficult. So that was a moment to sort of ask a few questions and adapt. And leading up until that point, I was already growing very frustrated and aware that the world is not geared towards sustainability, and it's not easy to support a family with a job. The status quo of get a job, support your family is no longer tenable. The cost of living has just skyrocketed over the years. And over the years, my wife and I have each had, at the same time, multiple jobs. And we have always been struggling to pay our bills, go to the doctor, service the car. It's not about going to restaurants and getting luxury things. We don't have luxury things. It's been becoming more and more clear that, you know, the monetary system is messed up, and all the systems that govern us, we've been taught to trust it and just get a job, contribute to society, and things will work out. And there's just been so many things to show that that's no longer the case. I remember when I left home at 18 years old to go live in London, my dad gave me a beautiful long letter. He spoke to me from the heart, all sorts of stuff. And part of what he told me was, you know, you need to save, and I can't remember the percentage, maybe it was 10%. He's like, save 10% for your pension, save 10% for your savings, you know, put money aside so that you can support yourself, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, while that may have been more possible in my early days, as life progressed, it became absolutely impossible to save because of the cost of living. Anyway, so 2015, lost my job, daughter's 1 year old, and I realized that I need to start doing things a little bit differently. And I already had a huge fascination for the internet, which I could ramble on about, but I won't. And I realized that whatever I did do, it would be leveraging the internet. So the first thing I did was to explore how I could leverage my skills and the internet to get by. And that was 2015. And for the next 2 years, I actually taught English to Chinese and Vietnamese children. And In many ways, it was great because I have an aptitude for education and dealing with children. I enjoyed some of it, but obviously when you're teaching children that don't want to be taught, it can be quite soul-crushing. I think any teachers listening to this can attest to that. Anyway, but I did realize that teaching was not the career that is fulfilling for me. So, I did a few things. I worked on a few solar farms around Mauritius, 2 solar farms, helping developing those, and 1 plastic recycling factory. And then in January 2017, one of my wife's friends was posting on Facebook about how rich he was getting from Bitcoin or Bitcoin related investments. And, she knew this guy. So, by association, I know this guy's real. We messaged him to find out what was going on. And he said, there's this Bitcoin, this internet money. Anyway, but he said, buy Bitcoin and you got to put it here, here, and here. And I went ahead and did that. So in January 2017, I bought basically a full Bitcoin at around $800. A year later, Bitcoin touched on $20,000. However, by that point, I had lost it all to scams. And that was not the fault of the person I followed. That was my own fault because I followed without asking the right questions, and I was guilty of believing what I wanted to believe. I decided to explore the reasons. How did I lose this money? Where is the failure? Where did I screw up? And the more I learned about the ecosystem, the more excited I got because I realized that there actually is a whole lot of value with the underlying technology of Bitcoin, which is blockchain. And the more I learned, the more excited I got. And it was in this process of discovery where a fire I never knew existed started in me. And my passion as a person is to leverage innovative solutions, innovative technologies, and human relations to create win-wins. And I only realized that once I found the core use of blockchain. The reason why blockchain is so special is because it can deliver trust without the need for a third party. And that's why it can bring a lot of disruption beyond just financial technology in every industry across the world. I also learned that there were thousands and thousands of cryptocurrencies. And that was my first clue that the majority of cryptos were created to cash in on the hype. When people come into the space and they get scammed, a lot of them would come out saying, oh, Bitcoin blockchain is a scam, don't touch it. And I can absolutely empathize and understand how they get to that conclusion. However, it's incredibly wrong. And I'm actually going to bounce back to that point in a moment. In early 2018, there was a blockchain project which I found interesting. I liked the team, I liked the vision, and I contacted the CEO to start a dialogue. Within a month, he invited me to join the team as a Telegram room moderator, which I was absolutely elated to do. I joined, and very quickly, the moment I joined the team, even though my responsibility was to moderate the chat, I got involved absolutely everywhere. Every void that I found, every problem or challenge was an opportunity for me to pick up the ball and run with it. And within a relatively short space of time, I climbed my way up and I became the head of community relations and then the chief operating officer as I took control of all the departments from marketing, business development, human resources, which is an incredible one, important one, social media, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, during my 4.5 years at HTML Coin, for 3 years, I actually taught blockchain technology and various topics around it through one of the arms of the company, which is called Alt-Hash University. And I would teach topics like, the problems of the world that gave rise to Bitcoin, the need for Bitcoin, the broken monetary system, and how blockchain and Bitcoin has come to provide some form of liberation. I'll teach about the different types of cryptocurrencies, the use cases, and one of the classes was token creation, which I'll get to in a second. Education, I had a lot of fun with that. I believe very strongly in education, and I wanted to share a little point about that. You can have the smartest person in the world telling you something you don't know. But unless that information is delivered with some form of inspiration, there's going to be a total lack of retention of information and a lack of follow through and a lack of action. So a lot of my teachings were surrounding the things that inspired me and things that I thought were missing from the understanding of people. And I wanted to share two of my favorite teachings with you today. Now, remember when I said people would come and they'd get scammed and they would come out saying Bitcoin blockchain is a scam? Well, that's the first point I want to tackle here. And I'd love to bring light to an ironic duality of blockchain to help bring an awareness of something. So there's actually there's ironic dualities with most things in life, but here's blockchain. So blockchain's superpower is its ability to deliver trust. However, it's been commonly or widely used to scam and defraud people, and that's kind of ironic. Blockchain is a tool, like a knife is a tool. You can use a knife to cut your food, carve a beautiful sculpture, or stab your neighbor in the throat. So education is absolutely key, not just to help people understand how they can optimize their lives and their businesses, but to mitigate the risks of supporting bad players. When people go in and come out, oh, it's a scam, the whole technology is a scam. No. Those people are just not able to take responsibility for their own ignorance. And that's it at the end of the day. It's the technology and how it's used. I actually want to tell you the second favorite teaching of mine, because one of the classes I would teach was specifically about token creation. And this was, I think, more impactful than many people realize, because one of the greatest applications of blockchain is the ability to tokenize. I mean, with tokenization, we can tokenize anything and everything and also nothing. We can tokenize things that exist in the real world, things that are in the metaverse digital world, or we can tokenize absolutely nothing. My primary mandate for this class was to teach people how to create their own tokens. But for me, that was tantamount to almost like being at a gun store and handing out free guns to anyone who wanted them. There's a saying which I remember from Spider-Man. Spider-Man's uncle would say, with great power comes great responsibility. And as we've seen, and that's actually Voltaire that originally said that, but anyway, blockchain tokenization, there's so much value that can be created. However, because humans, want to get the most that they can from the least amount of effort, and there's a lot of exploitative bastards out there, for them it was an easy way to, create a huge supply of nothing and sell it to people on an idea. Anyway, so what I would do is I would lead this class by telling them straight away that any idiot can create a token. I could literally teach a 5-year-old how to create a token within 5 minutes. On the platform, you really just have to choose the name of your project, the ticker, the supplier, press enter, and Bob's your auntie or uncle, and you've got your token supplier. And I would spend a lot of effort trying to dispel any delusions of people coming in thinking that they're going to be a pioneer getting rich off creating a token that does nothing. So I would then lead the class with a use case I came up with in those days, which kind of builds that picture of how a simple token can actually drive value for stakeholders in your respective ecosystem. Anyway, let me give you the example. So imagine a school in Africa, a few hundred students or whatever. Every school has work that needs to be done around the school, whether it's light landscaping, gardening, feeding of animals, light maintenance work, whatever. So for this example, let's say the school wants to paint a classroom, and usually to paint a classroom would cost, let's say, $100 from a contractor. But let's say that the school created a token and they put a notice board on the wall at school and online with a list of bounties. And they said, for all eligible students, if you were to paint this classroom within these KPIs, like it needs to be painted within maybe 3 days or 4 days, and this quality of standard, if you achieve this, you will be paid 1,000 campus coins. Those 1,000 campus coins are then redeemable for $80 worth of food and drink at the school canteen. This is now an opportunity for students that don't otherwise have the opportunity to come to school with food and drink. And they can work before school, after school, during breaks, and, you know, earn those tokens where they can earn food and drink. And that's a win-win. The school's saving 20%, they're saving $20 off that 100. The school kids are earning some form of money and getting food and drink. Awesome. But now if that school wanted to be a bastard about it, they could, you know, have everything as I just explained, except maybe those 1,000 campus coins are only redeemable for $50, $40, $30. And that system may work for a short time, but at the end of the day, if you're exploiting stakeholders in some fashion, their life cycle and potential of that is limited. And I realized that, and I try and encourage people to find what I call stakeholder-centric strategies and whatever they do. And yes, a stakeholder-centric business model may have or thinner margins of profit, but if you're driving value for people in your ecosystem, there's going to be an uptake, there's going to be a volume, people are going to gravitate towards you, and profits will come in time. It's just about having that, you know, long vision, not being short-sighted about it. So yeah, I spent 4.5 years at HTML Coin, and I could actually talk on that journey for hours. One day I intend to write a book about it because it was incredibly challenging, beyond anything I could have envisioned before I got into the project. That's not a bad thing. In fact, I'm extremely grateful for the challenges I faced. And here's another quote for you as to the reason why. Calm seas never made a great sailor. Franklin D. Roosevelt. And that is absolutely true. There is a prevailing theme, a prevailing problem I have identified in the world today, and that is where the majority of people are reluctant to leave their comfort zone for fear of failure. Or fear of failure can be a fear of rejection, a fear of not getting enough reward for effort given, a fear of pain, whether it be physical or emotional. But this is very counterproductive and is a one-way ticket to mediocrity. There is a saying by Elon Musk, and he says, if you're not failing, you are not innovating enough. That's absolutely true. The likes of Elon Musk, Jack Ma, Richard Branson, and all the most of the world's most successful people, these guys have failed more times than most have even tried. And I absolutely love that. The magic of that, and you know, when you tell that to people, and you ask them, so what do you think the moral of that story is? And 99% of the time people say, perseverance. Perseverance is key. Get up and try again. They're not wrong. Perseverance is invaluable. However, I believe the real magic in failure is not with perseverance alone. And if there was, in this talk that I'm giving today, if there's one thing I want you to walk away from, one lesson, if you could only take one lesson, it's this. The magic in failure is actually to take responsibility for your part in the failure that you experience. There's no point in picking yourself up and trying again if you're not going to recognize what went wrong in the first place. If I'm in a project with Tom, Dick, and Harry, and things go pear-shaped, and I say, oh, Tom did this, Harry did this, and Steve did this, while there may be some truth to that, if I'm unable to recognize where I stuffed up, I am destined to repeat the same failure again and again. And to repeat the same failure, that's the kind of catastrophic failure that we need to avoid. Failure on itself is not a bad thing. You should be failing. If you're not failing enough, you're not trying hard enough. People need to become comfortable getting out of their comfort zone. Actually, on that topic, I have always had a huge fear of public speaking. Doing this sort of thing, I would avoid it at all costs for most of my life. But it was around 2018, 2019, once the fire in me started, and I saw and I realized that I found my career, my dream. This is I could see I'm going that way, but I realized that if I am to realize the trajectory that I'm on, I'm going to have to get over my fear of public speaking. And it was at that moment that I started to throw myself into various public speaking opportunities. And most of the time I did better than I thought I would. On a few occasions, I choked horribly, but that's part of the thing. I actually did a lot of research in how to public speak, how to speak to new people, and basically it came down to the best thing to do is actually just to practice. And here's another quote I wanted to share with you all. You are your own worst enemy. That was said by Friedrich Nietzsche. Sorry if I'm butchering that name. But that is absolutely true. Whether you're an entrepreneur, CEO, whoever you are, there is no one in your life that has stuffed up more opportunities for yourself than you. That applies to everyone. It doesn't matter if you have one or multiple people in your life that are toxic and who are a hindrance in your life. There's no one more in control of your life and where you're going than yourself. The most important, the most impactful variable that determines your success is the one that you have the most control over, and that is your attitude. And I know I might be sounding like some sort of guru know-it-all, and that's not at all the case. I'm not in a place where I'm rich and famous, and I'm like, but I over these 5 years, there's been significant progress, which has validated everything that I've said to you now. And I really hope that people can realize that there's a real abundance of power within each of us. All of life's opportunities come from the people that we meet in business and in private. And it's often, you might have noticed when you look at various people, some people have more luck, more opportunities are afforded to some people than others. And from an outside perspective, when you see that, some people will say, oh, that's not fair. Why he or she is, always getting these opportunities. They're so lucky. I want to be lucky. But every person is responsible to manifest their own luck. Opportunities are most often awarded by people above us, by exceptional people. Exceptional people don't want to give opportunities to the mediocre. They don't want to give opportunities to people that are going to freeload and just sit on it. So how can someone become exceptional? And it's not about getting a degree in marketing, getting a degree in anything, not to spit or throw shade on studying, not that I've done much, but there is definitely value in skills and all that jazz, 100%. But it's the soft skills and the attitudes that will really take you a lot further than taking out huge loans and to go and study things for years. Anyway, people need to get out their comfort zone, try new things, don't be afraid at sucking at something new, take responsibility for where they fail, and things will fall in place. I mean, in a nutshell, that's what I've come to tell you about today.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, Vincent, that was amazing. Absolutely. What a wonderful human being and a lovely character you've got. And that presentation was just so heartfelt, and I know it certainly resonated with me all the way along. I just love, where you're coming from, and such words of wisdom as well, and words that really resonate, and with SheFan Pro and our spirit here, wholeheartedly. And I know our audience will have taken great value from that. It was a really superior, fabulous presentation. It really was, from start to end. And I know that you will continue to grow and enjoy success and share that with others, and support others in that process as well, because you have, as you were saying as well, the soft skills there, the ability to communicate in a way that resonates and in a way that impacts and is retainable for the memory, is clearly one of your many gifts, and you've displayed that beautifully today in this presentation. So thank you so much for that. It was an absolute pleasure. I just felt myself, as I was listening to you, just relaxing into my seat and just thinking, wow, wow, And I was so wanting to unmute at different times and say, I get that, and that's brilliant. And I had to keep my finger away. Absolutely brilliant. Saumya or Joanne, do you have anything that you want to ask Vincent before I start asking my questions?
Yes, first of all, I would like to thank Mr. Vincent Hoffmann for such a wonderful speech, because I totally agree with Ms. Shelle Fantastic regarding the same, because it's more like an inspirational and a motivational speech. And we didn't realize that through the speech we've learned so many things. You've taught about the tokens in a very simplified manner, using a simple school story. So that is something which is to be appreciated, and not everybody can do the same. So maybe your teaching skills, your personality, and you said right, your soft skills have come in hand when you were delivering this speech. So that is something which we should appreciate you for. Now, I would also like to thank you, because you've openly shared your failures, along with successes, which most of the people, they will not talk about failures. So only those who are inspirational, motivational, those people that talk about failures. As you said, right, opportunities are given to exceptional people and not mediocre people. So many times mediocre people, they don't try to talk about their failures, and they try to post about themselves that I did this, I did that, but then they are scared to share their failures, because one of the reason you said, because they have not learned from their failures, and that is the reason they are scared of it. Because once you learn from your failure, then you are not scared of it. So then you can again take up the challenge. So you have to understand that failure. You were saying, right, you have to observe and understand that failure, and then you can see to that you don't repeat it. Now that is something that's excellently stated. I would also like to thank you, because you've told about how blockchain, you related with your childhood stories of your greed, and then you connected with the blockchain story, and then you've lost, to frauds and scams there. So that's beautifully connected. And I can say, and you also stated this, this is what everybody should hear, because you clearly said that, you have to take responsibility for your failure, and people don't take that. And that is the reason they say blockchain is a scam. That's what you've said. Now, that's a great statement that you've made. Now, this reminded me of a simple kitchen knife, where, the kitchen knife you can use to chop vegetables, fruits. It's at home. Everybody uses it. But the thing is, there are some, who misuse it. And because of those people, the knife, it got a bad name. But in reality, everybody uses the knife. Now, if you see in everybody's house, there's a knife. So you can't deny knife. But then still you're scared of knife. So what do? Is we tend to teach kids, how to use it safely. So that's how I think you must be educating people that, blockchain is not about the scams or something, but you've been trying to educate that it's like a knife or a double-edged sword, but you need to be careful. Either you can win a battle or you can kill somebody, with your greed. So that's something I've learned from your stories and your failures. And yes, that's a great inspiration. And the way you told about that painting class, and you made that tokenization very simple, where you said, right, if instead of giving 8,000 points, redeemable tokens, so that they can use it for their food and enjoy the drinks, but then your greed, you think, no, why to give this much? Let's just give 50 or 40. Now that's where everything backfires. Now, I mean, I can understand now if you, I mean, this can also be related to empathy and understanding other people. Now, it's not about your own success. When you share the success, then the success, it multiplies. But then again, you have a negativity in your mind and you think, no, let me only succeed. Let not others succeed. Or, why should I give that person? Then the moment you think that let the others not succeed, that's reflecting on you, and ultimately you're not succeeding because that's coming back onto you. So it's like a boomerang. So yeah. So that's beautifully explained. And your quotations like calm seas never make a great sailor. And if you're if you're not failing, you're not training enough, so like Elon Musk. So these are wonderful quotes that we could relate to. And yes, I mean, it's the turbulence and the difficulties of time and life that really makes you grow. And imagine somebody who's in a very well protected environment, and the moment they come out of the house, then some of the disease or something, even a very minor thing. So maybe imagine a person that's just kept in house and doesn't move. I mean, we all might have experienced during COVID. For 2 years, we are there back at home. But then now we want to go back to life again, move like how we were there before. We're not able to do that. Maybe run miles. We're not able to do. But maybe again, after a certain period of training or everyday exercise, and maybe we'll be doing that. So similarly, if you're there in a very safe environment, many times we don't grow. So it's this turbulence that teaches us a lot. So yes, and you also said that we should come out of our comfort zone and take risks and challenges. Yes, this field of tokens, crypto, and bitcoins, people think that it is something not for us. And then some people take a chance. It's not a risk, it's like a chance. They're not trying to understand it, but they thought it's like a gambling. Let's try this once. And then gambling, you lose it. I mean, the story you said, right?
Yeah.
So you lose it, but you try to study and understand it. So just like in share market, there are people who made millions in share market, but then there are also people who have failed in share market. That's also related to greed. So similarly, all these fields and new fields, you need to take that risk, but at the same time, while taking the risk, while doing something, you need to understand parallelly. So when that understanding grows, then you'll start loving the field. So, and that's how you are loving the field, and that's how you are teaching. So yes, once maybe in future we would like to invite you to teach us about tokenization in a simplified manner, because you were saying you can teach everybody in 5 minutes, right? So yes, we would like to welcome you once again, so that you can teach us about tokenization. So that will help so many people. And thank you, Vincent, once again.
No worries.
Wonderful seminar.
Wow.
Thank you very much. Just one more thing there. I just remembered. There's a quotation from the late Dr. Stephen Hawking, and it's actually his definition of the word intelligence. Intelligence is the ability to adapt to change, and the world is forever changing. Anyone who's not changing and adapting with the times because they're choosing their comfort, they're shooting themselves in the foot. And what I wanted to say, my motto, if I could put it, it's one sentence. Please excuse the French bit inside, but if people can just get shit done and spread the love and do that with consistency, they will do just fine. Yeah,
love that. Absolutely love that. And thank you, Saumya, as well for your summary there. It was very, very eloquently put as well. And Vincent, for our audience, because I'm sure there'll be people that want to reach out to you. Maybe how can they connect with you? How can they find you? Where are you on these days?
Ideally, LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn. On Twitter, it's Vinny I think it's Vinny H83. But I mean, if you find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on Twitter, but LinkedIn would be best. Vincent Hoffmann. Yeah.
Perfect, excellent. And you know, just to reiterate Saumya's request there, you know, we would definitely love to have you back as a guest speaker at SheFan Pro to share more valuable insights and more of your journey, and just to check in with you and see how you are and what you're doing, because you know, your ability to share, you know, valuable, motivational and very wise you know, presentation there today, you know, and I love how it was all connected from the childhood experience to the sort of more present day and everything else. It's just absolutely sensational, and we would just very much love to have you back. And our audience, thank you for watching back this recording. We appreciate you all. You know, we wouldn't be who we are if we didn't have all of you here supporting us, so thank you very much. And suffice to say, Vincent, thank you for being our fabulous guest speaker this week. I think you're absolutely amazing, and I'm really looking forward to inviting you back again in the future.
Awesome. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome. Cool. Thank you. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Cool.
Good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.